Welcome back for a build feature that we're excited to share. Glenn from Moyts Motorcars has brought down this incredible 68 Camaro with a Roads to Shop chassis. Glenn, great to have you in Melbourne, but let's first learn about the journey of Moyts Racing evolving to also include Moyts Motorcars.
Obviously, Moyts Racing, is synonymous within the industry. We've run everything from, turbocharged cars, screw-blown cars, soon to run a pro-charged car as well. That's kind of where our history has been for the last, 6 or 7 years.
And some of the fastest drag racing cars, big tyre cars in the country.
Yeah, in the world actually. Paul Mahayek, when he was driving for us, ran 274 miles an hour, which is set the mile an hour record for the world.
Yep.
I think for about 2 years. We ran that over in the US, and then we raced the screw-blown car here in Australia and won the championship back to back, the actual door slam championship. Yeah.
So out of the drag racing at a tier 1 level, how did Moyts Motorcars evolve?
So we kind of pulled up from racing after a couple of years after we won the championships. It's always been something that we've followed, really closely in the US, which was the pro touring scene, the resto mods, and we saw a bit of a market here in Australia for our old Holdens and Falcons. So we started to slow down the racing a little bit and put some focus into creating Moyts Motorcars, which is based around the building of these vehicles.
So there's no question, Roads to Shop engineering on their chassis is first class, but the regulations and certification in our country is different to the US.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest hurdles that we had to undertake here. In order for us to pass the national code, which is VSB 14 across the country, we had to undergo some pretty stringent testing, torsional testing and beam testing. And what that is we built a jig in-house and we tested the factory car, and it gives us a rigidity test across torsional and beam, like front to back. And then once the new chassis is installed, we need to do the same thing. And it allows us to create a baseline and then show the improvements once the Roads to Shop chassis is installed.
I know the Camaro, it's so popular in the US, and this is build 1, and the Falcons and other Australian models are the next evolution for doing Roads to Shop chassis. But perhaps we take a look at this masterpiece, and then we can talk more about some of the plans for some locally built muscle.
Yep.
It's awesome that specs chassis arrived all crated up, brand new, ready to go. But a 68 Camaro body, there's a few years on these bones.
Yeah, there definitely is. Yeah, so to touch on the chassis itself, when it arrived, we ordered it from the Roads to Shop, powder coated, fuel tank, brake lines installed, like it's literally ready to go into a car. Yep. But as you said, the cars themselves aren't ready to accept them. We purchased the body itself from somewhere down here actually in Victoria.
And for our American friends, they'll notice that the steering wheel is on the wrong side, but the right side for us. And the Roads to Shop have engineered the chassis to have a right-hand rack, but 68 Camaros never came right-hand drive, so there was some mods that had to happen.
Probably one of the parts of the build that took us a little bit by surprise. The steering rack itself gets supplied to be right-hand drive, but that's kind of the easy side of it. The hard part is repositioning the steering wheel, but pedal box comes over, wiper motor needs to come over, glove box needs to go to that side. Yeah, it's pretty intense. The plenum underneath the windscreen is a different shape, so it doesn't allow you to fit the pedal ratios that you need.
The paint and the colour is incredible, but I know our good friend Aidan did an incredible job with renders, so it wasn't always it didn't start life going to be this colour?
No, it didn't. We had maybe 4 or 5 options to choose from that he put together. Aidan did a fantastic job. Yeah, this is actually a Porsche green that we settled on.
We always believe the wheels make the car, and Forge Line's FF3, they're 3-piece, forged, completely custom. We've got the black pearl outer barrels, the gold centres, plenty of tyre with the Roads to Shop chassis. It's a 245 on the front, but a big 305 in the rear, which is way bigger than what they were from factory.
305 was as big as we were allowed to go here to the factory chassis rail.
Yep.
And yeah, the front, even with the 245, we get an amazing turning circle on it.
We were thrilled to have our all-new brake package on the car. It's our forged monoblock calipers, 6-piston front with a 15-inch rotor, and a 4-piston rear caliper with a 14-inch rotor. The car's running a 9-inch live axle rear end. It's got the Roads to Shop IFS in the front. But you had to go and do a lot of testing to get that proven out, and it's a bespoke package for the Moyts RS spec chassis.
We wanted to offer the spec chassis for the Camaro and the Falcon builds with the Harrop brake package. So that's why we did it on this car. And now that we've undergone all the brake testing, it's been approved as a package that we can now offer under certification.
And that testing was pretty rigorous. It was at the racetrack, it was a full day.
We had to hire out a racetrack for the day. We did a lot of lane change manoeuvrability stuff to test the suspension and side loads and Gs. The main focus of the day was the brakes. One of the sections of the brake test is they accelerate from a stop to 30 k's an hour to 90 k's an hour, hit the brakes, and they do that consecutively for about 25 minutes to check for brake fade.
The outside is absolutely stunning, but it's just as nice on the inside as well. How did the interior come together?
We got Brent Parker Motor Trimming involved in the build, and he's done an amazing job. It's got some German weave, green carpet with the brown leather trim. We got some door skins and seat molds from TMI Products, which is a US-based company.
So I can see the Haltech dash, Apple CarPlay, air conditioning. It must be a beautiful thing to drive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the car was obviously built with that concept in mind. It's supposed to be a driver. You're supposed to be able to get in and enjoy it. Haltech were another company that came on board. They helped us immensely with the ECU and engine management stuff. The Apple CarPlay, it's got a reverse camera, all the mod cons. The Vintage Air works phenomenally well. We actually used an electric AC compressor out of a Tesla, so we didn't disturb the front of the engine.
Such a beautiful, clean engine bay, and old school cool, the way the air cleaner looks like it's got a carby underneath.
Yeah, so that was, again, we tried to bring the outside into the engine bay and make the late model engine look like an old school deal. It's an LS3 supplied by Eagle Motorsport, like the blueprint engine. Makes around 630 horsepower, naturally aspirated, but EFI from Haltech. And yeah, like we dressed up the LS3 to look like an old small block Chev with the rocker covers. You can't see the coil packs.
So the air cleaner, handmade. The headers, are they out of the States?
Headers came from the Roadster shop as well, which is another benefit of the build. You know, going through those guys, you can buy a header kit that suits an LS into the Camaro. It just gives you another head start.
You can see the detail and the engineering with the chassis into the engine bay, but let's get it on the lift and have a look underneath.
Yeah, sure.
It's easy to see the engineering excellence that Roadster shop have with modern architecture.
Yeah, it's not really until you put it up on a lift or a hoist and see exactly how special the car is underneath. You know, the independent front suspension, the Fox coilovers, huge sway bar across the front. That's the power steer rack that we talked about earlier, left to right option.
And moving forward, it's running a 6-speed?
6-speed Tremec gearbox. Exhaust system is the dual 3-inch stainless that we built in-house.
Yeah, the fabrication of that looks brilliant, and this spec chassis, the way it just marries up to the original body mounts makes it so much easier.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that was one of the benefits of actually ordering it powder coated. It's built for the 68 to just slip straight in, you know, factory mounts. And you can see exactly how well it contours the factory floor, which allows you to give it that low stance at the same time.
Another cool feature, Roadster shop supply the brake hard lines already installed.
Yeah, hard lines installed, proportioning valve mounted on the side for front to back, obviously depending on your brake package and wheel size.
And even this fuel tank looks like a beautiful piece.
Yeah, it is another one that came from the Roadster shop, which is just, again, gives you a head start on the build. Yep. It's a fully stainless steel tank, in-tank pump, and you spec to them, you know, what engine or horsepower level that your requirements are, and they build the tank and fuel pump to suit.
They really are the ultimate resto mod, but let's hear it and go for a drive.
Yeah, sure, let's go for a spin.
It's awesome, you immediately feel the ride control is just so much better on this chassis.
Yeah, I mean compared to the factory vehicle, it's a completely different ride.
Yeah, absolutely night and day. And the blueprint engine, it's making all the right sounds. It almost sounds like a small block Chev.
Yeah, it does. It does. Like I said, it was built to drive. It's not an over horsepower vehicle. But you know, it's not bad. It'll turn the tyres in first and second gear, so you can still have some fun in it, that's for sure.
Well, Glenn, it drives as good as it looks. It's an absolute credit to you and the Moits Motor Cars team. I can't wait to get to Sydney and see the first Falcon on a Roadster shop chassis. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.